DeShawn, it is great to see you again. We met in person at NSA Influence in Scottsdale just a couple months ago, and we're recording in September. I think this will go live in October. If I'm a little bit late, I'm a little bit late, but I'm expecting this is going to go live in October. And we met in August. Was it July or August when NSA? It's all been a blur. August.
I think it's August.
Yeah.
This year has gone by fast. So yes.
And one of the cool things is the smile that you have, because this smile turned into kind of an open invitation to have a conversation. We had a conversation in the hallway, and that's what I like about those events is the hallway conversations. As much as there's some cool stuff that happens in other places, the real magic, the real connection happens in the hallway.
Outside the classroom. Exactly.
Okay. So talk about that. What do you mean outside the classroom?
Outside, not necessarily in the breakout rooms. Like, you definitely go to the classes and the workshops, with the expectation of getting, something out of it. But I think the real jewels, I think those unexpected lessons and learning moments happen outside of the room and in the line, getting your food or, waiting to check in or in the hallway. That's where the jewels are, the things that you don't expect.
So as someone who's planned events in the past, how do you create that space?
I think being strategic, one, and going into your planning and going into your, whatever event, conference, fundraiser, whatever it is that you're planning, really understanding your audience and who your audience is. Not every audience is the same. And so you can't, I always say I hate cookie cutter events. Like, you cannot copy paste an event. And you can't even copy and paste year to year to me. There's one conference that I know that has been, happening for probably over 50 years now. And I can tell you, like, every night or every day, I know exactly what's happening because they have not changed their agenda in like 50 years. And to me, it drives me crazy because people change, situations change, environments change, and the fact that you're meeting or event is not changing with it is crazy. And so you have to really sit back before you even begin the planning and try to figure out, what is this audience coming? What's their expectation when they're coming? Like, why are they spending their hard-earned money to be there? And what are they anticipating getting out of it? And so that's the first step, is just to really know your audience. And if you have an audience that loves to talk and loves to, NSA, we're a lot of talkers. And so, you have to create spaces that allow that. And so you can't have, programming that's all lecture based because it doesn't fit the audience. You have to put in things that will allow for that networking type of thing, structured networking, or, just impromptu. Maybe your conference is one that you have, less breakouts, more meals and free time. It's just getting to know the people that you're serving.
What are some of the questions that people miss on when thinking about asking or trying to figure out how to get to know the people that you're serving or the people that are going to be at the event?
I think the first thing is people don't fully think of who their stakeholders are. They think of themselves, and they miss everybody else who's a part of that plan. And so I think that's the bigger problem than what question they're missing is it's a lot of times they don't plan with the attendee in mind at all. It's, this is how much money I need to make. This is, and that's where they go from. And so I think that even if you're starting out, with the attendee in mind or with all of the stakeholders in mind, you're already on a great start. You're already way past a lot of people.
It's awesome to hear you say this because I'm new to this, relatively new to space. I had a false start. Wanted to get into speaking or I actively operate with intention moving into speaking back in 2023, even just a couple of years before, but really started to take it serious in 2023 and then didn't execute on the things I wanted to. And then now I'm back at it again here in 2025 as we move toward 2026. It's cool to hear you say that sometimes, I hope I don't put words in your mouth. Sometimes the people who are putting together events think more about themselves than they do about the people that are in the room
Mhm.
trying to achieve something. Like they're not anticipating the objectives of others.
No, there it's I need to raise money. I need to, and that's the first thing. And, people come up to me all the time. It's like, I wanna put this event together. And I'm like, why? And it's always about them. It's rarely is that answer about what they want to serve to the other person.
So what are the things? So on the about them side of things,
Mhm,
let's focus
mhm.
on that because I do want to get into the other side. But on the
Okay.
about them, what are the things that are important to people who are putting on an event? Like when an event planner is putting something together, whether it's the person who's managing and actually putting on the structure of the event, or it's the person who has the idea and is funding it. And maybe we can even get into details around the difference between those. But what are some of the things that event planners, people who are putting on an event, think about? Not what they should think about, but what they do think about. Like what are the first things that they're thinking about?
Finances. How
Okay.
much is it
Yep.
going to cost? I think that is always, the largest concern is how is this being paid for? Outside of finances, it's going to be, attendance and getting people in the door. But when you look at what is the definition of an event, event in order for an event is supposed to cause a change. So people are supposed to leave an event different than when they came in. And so that is should be the underlining basis of an event is what change is it that I want to make of the people that are coming in.
All right. I want to get deep into that. I,
Okay.
I, I want to keep before we do.
Uh-huh.
So one of the things you said is finance. Like, hey, how are we going to fund it? Because I mean, let's be honest. It's important in order for an event to happen year over year. So
Hmm.
50 years in a row, it has to make money
It
somehow
does.
because it costs money to operate an event.
It does. It does. A lot of money. Yes.
So what are some of the costs that, what are some of the things that contribute to cost on the cost side of things when operating an event?
I mean, I think your largest costs are going to be food and beverage, venue, and again, it's depending on type of event. A 1 day or 2 hour event is going to be much different than a 3 to 5 day conference. But 9 times out of 10, audio visual and food and beverage are going to be your highest cost points, and then you start to factor in paying your speakers, paying your staffing and people and body cost because the event planner cannot do it by herself or his or herself. So you have to think of all of the elements and all of the people who are behind bringing this together. So those are your major buckets.
So we've got the money side. We're going to get into the transformation and like intent kind of things. Is there anything between anything else to think about that event planners are thinking about between the money side, the financial side, and the ultimate impact that they want to drive? Are there other things that they're thinking about on their side, just being in their shoes?
Yeah, it's so for instance, like myself, I'm an independent planner. So I work for, multiple different companies, multiple different entities. So I'm always thinking about their need. I'm always also thinking about the brand, my brand, and keeping, and at the end of the day, my brand it being well maintained and not, hurting my brand. So just doing things with quality so that, when things are over, everybody walks away happy. And that's one of the questions I always ask a client when I do an initial call with them is what does success look like? At the end of the day, when this is all over, what is going to put a smile on your face and what's going to make you sit back and say this was successful?
I really like you saying that out loud. And the reason why I like you saying it out loud is one of the things that I think is important for folks to realize is we are all really not that different in the way that we operate with customers and the way that
Right.
we engage with others. And some of those customers are internal customers, some of them are external customers. If we just ask that simple question, what does success look like to you? It's amazing what starts to open up and how we can avoid some of the assumptions. Let's get into that.
A lot of assumptions. Everybody, and that's another thing that I try to do in terms of being strategic, because everybody has a different idea of what success is. Everybody has a different idea of what this conference is about. And if nobody is talking to each other, and everybody's just going on this assumption of, oh, this conference is happening to raise funding, or, oh no, this conference is happening because, we want to educate people on the software. But if everybody in the room has a different idea of why we're having this conference, then something's wrong. Like everybody should know, and it's not that you can't have multiple reasons for having something, but everybody should know what all those multiple reasons are. And you're not hiding it to yourself thinking everybody's thinking like you, because we're not. So that's the whole idea of, understanding what all the stakeholders want and what all the stakeholders' needs are, because everybody is coming into that room with a different reason, agenda, purpose, background, hurt, challenges. Everybody is coming in with something different. And until we understand all of the different uniqueness of what's coming in the room, then, not everybody is going to leave happy and not everybody is going to achieve success.
So let's talk about the different stakeholders. So who are the stakeholders? So like this is, for me, it's like this whole, who are the people in your neighborhood?
Right.
The butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, like who are all the stakeholders that are involved in events broadly?
Right. And exactly, because, every situation is different. But ideally, it's the people who are attending the conference.
Okay.
It's the people who are putting the money up for sponsorship, and it is the main planning entity. And then within that main planning entity, you have, different sectors. You have your C-suite leadership, who has a different agenda than your planning team, so it's even in there, just understanding all the different nuances within the planning organization. But those are those are probably your three major, will be the client, the attendee, and the sponsor.
Awesome. And when you think about the transformation piece, is it transformation from which perspective? Is it transformation from like the sponsor perspective? Is it transformation from the attendees perspective? Is it transformation from the people putting on is everybody transforming, or is there a specific, like, how do you think about that transformation as you start going through and building out on your end?
So, overall, it's the transition of the attendee is really what you're looking at. That's the pretty much the main reason. But again, you do have to understand the needs, because there also might need to be a transformation for that sponsor. If this is if these are sponsors who, are trying to gain business, you want them to leave in a better financial position than when they came in. So at the same time, there is a change for them also. So, how are you going to help them be in a better place when they leave? Aside from it, because again, even with our sponsorship models, we don't think about the sponsor. We think about ourselves. We think about, I need some money. Let me slap some bullet points on the sponsorship and give it to them, and they're gonna give me money. And that not everybody thinks about the fact of, let this be a win-win situation. Like, how can I help you? Are these bullet points something that you actually want and need? Or is this just, me copy and pasting some other person's sponsorship packet and putting it together?
How can I help you? Like, it's amazing what happens when you ask that question, huh?
Exactly. Even care. That, I think that's the main thing, is you actually have to care. And it's not, and it not just being a task or a job. And especially on this side, the meeting planning side, because I always say there is a point before every event or conference that I'm planning where I question my choices in life. Like, I'm like, why am I in this career? Like, why am I doing this? Because it's not easy. So if you're going to put yourself through the agony that we put ourselves through as event planners, you have to do this because you care.
I would like to go deeper into the whole event planning piece. Like, what do event planners care about? Like just like at a foundation, like what makes someone
Mhm.
go through something where they're in the middle of it. They're like, I am questioning all of my life choices. Like, how did I get here? Like, what do event planners care about beyond the funding piece and understanding, hey, it's important to know what kind of transition we're going to go through. Like, what the nitty gritty, like, what's the stuff? Now, how can someone like me as a speaker help event planners do their job better? If yeah,
Mhm.
that's kind of what I'm thinking about these days. So what do event planners care about?
I definitely look at this as a team effort. So whenever I take on a client, I'm taking on a client as I am part of your team. I am, you know, my goal is to make sure that you are successful, that whatever success looks like for you, I'm on the team to make sure that that happens. And then I take that same mentality when it comes to vendors. So like when I'm searching for an AV company or if I'm searching for a florist or, even a venue, a lot of times it's not just about money for me. It's also about do you also have that team mindset? Because every single component of the event can make and break the event. So if banquet staff is unhappy, you gonna be unhappy. So it even goes to that, being the face of and how you interact with your vendors and your staff and the people who are supporting this event. So it's a matter of making sure that everybody is treated, in a way that wants them to make you just as successful. And so, you have those that, the saying of, you can get more with honey than you can. And so it's the truth. Like people will bend over backwards for people who they like. But if you just paying me some money, I'm gonna do my job. And that's all I'm gonna do. So it's a matter of, liking you and feeling respected by you. And then I'm going to help. I'm going to make sure that I go above and beyond for you.
Like, I mean, it gets into this whole kind of like know, like, and trust type stuff, right? Like,
Definitely.
first you got to know that somebody exists, and then once you know that they exist, do you like them? Do you trust them? Do you believe that the fit is right? Like all of those kind of pieces. What are some things that speakers do incorrectly when it comes to being likable or building trust? Either one of those things. Yeah.
I think it's not responding. Oh, that's ultimate. If an email is sent, if a deadline is given, if a phone call is made, please respond. But the wondering if, they're going to come through, the wondering, when they're going to hear back, being responsive and communicative is, I think, ultimate. And the deadlines, like we're not giving deadlines willy-nilly. Like if we're giving you a deadline where we need your PowerPoint or things like that, we're doing it because we have a deadline. We're doing it because we're trying to troubleshoot something on the other end. So if you can help us by, because it's stacked. It's not just you we're dealing with. you know we're still dealing with all the other components. And so if you can just be as attentive and community communicative as possible, it just helps ease that burden.
It just kind of gets back to this whole be a human being. Like care, give a crap. Like all of these kind of things.
And I understand people are busy. Like I get it. And, and just even saying, "Hey, I'm busy. I'm on the road. I didn't get to do." Just, let me know that, I need a new deadline. And it's that, don't assume that it's not important because it is.
Yeah. One of the things we put in place is like copy Jen on everything. So because if you want to get something done around here and around me, Jen's got to be in the vault. Like if I'm talking with you and we're working on something together, we can get that done right here and now. The
Mhm.
challenge is once we are in that conversation, I get distracted. I've got other people that I'm working with. I've got all of those other things. And I know that about me. Like I know what my systems are. I know that I need to have blocks in my calendar for certain things. I need to have some checklists that are out there. I need to have reminders, and I need someone like Jen who can things move it along. So on the thing, I don't know if for others who are kind of getting into this space, have that know what your limitations are. Like know what you
Yes.
do really, really well and know what you do poorly
Yes.
and get and
Exactly.
solve for those things.
Exactly. Yes. Think ahead and don't try to do everything by yourself. Exactly. And I think the other thing that is of value to an event planner is you adding value to us. So if you understand what it is that we're trying to do, if you understand the purpose and the mission of the event that you're speaking at, if there is some extra tidbit that you can do that would add value to that, the planner hasn't thought about, but you can say, yes, I will do that. And that would be great because again, we're always, as planners, we're trying to make this the best thing for our attendees. And if you can help us with that, um, at, the same price point, or if it is a different price point, again, just showing why that additional price point would help us. Um, if and again going with budget isn't always there, but
Yep.
just adding value.
Yeah. So when you say value, what are some of the things as an event planner and someone who helps put on events as an independent event planner? What are some of the things that you find valuable? Like like even just like small things where
Mhm.
they're super valuable and other people might not even be considering them. What are some of those things that you find valuable that other people might not even be thinking about?
A speaker who is willing to spend extra time. So again, I understand speakers are busy and you're going to come in, do your hour and head back out the door. But if you're willing to hang out for a meal and you're willing to have a table of 10, where you sit and chit chat, where I can, uh, I can say, to my attendees, like this opportunity is available. If you're willing to come to the opening reception or the evening, have a meet and greet, have a just time because people are there. Not everybody is going to be in a situation where they can raise their hand and ask a question, and then, after the keynote, everybody's rushing to the stage to have that moment. But if the planner can say to the attendees, there are these additional moments that they're willing to give. They'll be here for the next 2 days. Um, that helps in building out value for the attendees.
Absolutely awesome. Thank you for helping me on this piece and kind of walking through it.
My pleasure.
You're working on some pretty interesting things to help people transform
Yes.
themselves. Let's talk a little bit about, or not even a little bit, let's go deep on the things that you're working on that side. Like what type of transformations are you helping people make?
So I have been an entrepreneur for 15 years. I've been planning events for almost 30 years, which is amazing to me. But I've owned my own company for 15 years. And for me, it's always the hardest part for me has always been my mindset. It's always been staying motivated. I say that being an entrepreneur can be a lonely a lonely place sometimes because people really don't get it. And so I've always that has always been something that I've gravitated to. I've talked about, I've spoke at industry conferences about and done workshops on. It's just basically, how to navigate, this thing between my ears. And so what I am starting to do is I'm marrying my event planning skills with my speaking skills. And I've started to put together some retreats. And so I've developed a framework. It's called Stretch to Win. And so it's basically, um, I say that a lot of times we find ourselves sleepwalking through life, like where we do all the things, we get up, we check the boxes, we move, but we're the time that we actually sit and spend and understanding why we're moving in the directions that we're moving in, a lot of people don't spend that time. And that's something that I actually learned. it it took the death of my father actually in 2017 for me to just sit and stop and question, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like, why am I believing what I'm believing? Why am I moving in the ways that I'm moving? And I think that that was the first time that I actually just sat with myself and I was like, let's start at ground zero and let's just figure out, you know, why we're doing this. And so that is what I'm, trying to help other people do. I think that I love the title of your podcast, of finding your catalyst. And so it's like I don't want that catalyst to be something tragic. Let the catalyst be a luxurious 3-day retreat in Monterey, California to spearhead that. Let's look at another way to just sit back and really figure out, am I living the life that I desire? Am I really doing the things that I want to do? Or am I living the life that my parents put in play? That society told me that this is what I'm supposed to do as a woman, that, culture told me that this is who I am and this is my value. Or am I really living out my life's purpose? And am I really taking bold action, bold steps, and doing the things that I want to do and I believe in?
I love the number of questions that you shared throughout that piece right there. So go back and listen to that
Mhm.
30 to 60 seconds, whatever the time I was on there on the questions, because some of these, am I, who am I, like, oh, some of these questions are can be amazing opportunities to create, or a catalyst, like you
Mhm.
said, a catalyst to create some kind of breakthrough where it doesn't have to be some real negative thing that's happened, but more a positive thing.
Mhm.
What was the process like back when you were kind of sitting with yourself back in 2017? Not as much about losing your dad, but more
Mhm.
about the process of you just doing the inner work in self. Like, how'd that, how'd that feel?
It's interesting because my largest realization is the fact that in, in my adulthood, there were very few decisions that I really made because of me. I tell the story of I picked my major because I knew I needed money to go to college, and a woman at our church was giving scholarships in honor of her son, but you had to be a business major. So I was like, I'll be a business major. So let's do that. I attended college because, there was a certain, my mom was like, hey, if we're helping you pay for this, this is as far as you going in the country. Like, okay. And so, when I got out of college, my senior year, one of my professors was like, hey, you need a job? I was like, yeah. And so that was first job out of college. And so I'm moving, I'm doing the things, but again, there wasn't a strategy behind it. There wasn't, and it had never really dawned on me, like all of these big, momentous occasions in life. Like, why are you even doing it? And then, I ask and I challenge, like, how many people are going to college because they really want to go to college? And how many people are going to college because that's what society says that you do after high school? And I'm not saying that going to college is a bad thing. I'm just saying, why are you doing it? And when do we spend the time to actually ask ourselves? Like the word that has been coming to me over and over again this year is value.
Mm.
And I sit there as like, how many of us really value our thoughts, our actions, ourselves enough to just sit down and ask ourselves the questions. You know, for me, it is my favorite word is why, because it always goes back to why are you doing this? Why? And but it's how many people are actually asking ourselves why, or we're just doing it because it's what we're supposed to do, and we're successful, we check the boxes, like we win the awards, we do the things, we go to the fancy colleges, we get the degrees, we're doing all of the right things, but why? And so that's what these retreats are are designed to do, is to ask questions and do journaling and prompting, and to have people sit and really understand their why.
What is what's value to you? Like, what's the word value? Like, do you have a definition of what value is?
It's importance. It's I say importance in terms of you, where do I put you in the equation?
Okay.
Again, people, I get up, I get the kids ready for school, I go to work, I come home, I cook the dinner, I go to bed. I'm putting everybody else's needs in front of my own. And then when they be like, "Oh, when do you have time for yourself?" I don't have time for me. Like time to, because again, I'm putting everything else in front of me. So I'm valuing them more than I'm valuing myself. So it's a for it's it's an importance. It is a hierarchy of needs. It's who are you going to put uh and who 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 do you, and I'm trying to say the word without saying the word. It's like, who do you value enough?
Say it. Well, what we're just this is your definition. This isn't anybody else's definition. This is yours. So, so say it. Yeah.
So like, who do you value? Do you value yourself enough that you want to spend every day just sitting and reflecting on, these are my needs for the day. These are my needs for the week. These are my needs for this moment. And I am just as important as the job, the kids, the husband, the everything else.
Who determines the value of something?
We do.
Yeah.
But again, it's if you choose to. Because a lot of times we don't choose to. We allow other people to create our value systems.
Yeah.
And we don't even look at, what do I value, you know? And I recently did a workshop and a lesson, and I was sitting there and I was like, what what did I tell you? Like, like, if I were to give three words, like, what would those words be? And I had to sit with that for a minute and really think about it. And like, what is important to me? And like, for me, it's, authenticity. It's community. It's valuing people's differences. Like, I want people to feel comfortable enough to be themselves, and to be unique, and understanding everyone's uniqueness. Like, those are the things that I value. And so based on those things that I value, I move in a certain way and I treat people a certain way. And above all, I value my uniqueness, my heritage, my, authenticity. And I move in a certain way because I value that. I'm not going to let you diminish that about me. So yeah.
Awesome. How about you use the word mindset? Do you have a definition around mindset?
I think how you, and it's, a lot of it is unconscious. A lot of it is, you know your the 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 triggers, habits, movements that we go through every day, knowingly and unknowingly. And, I also have some healing retreats that are planned, because after I started going through this journey, one of the most transformational trips for me was to go to Accra, Ghana, and to walk and to go through some of the things that my ancestors went through during the transatlantic slave trade.
Hmm.
And I had never really, like, I know the history, I had studied the history, I knew the tragedy of it, but to actually sit with it, to actually stand and retrace and rewalk those moments, it took it to another level for me, and it gave it another level of importance. And it And now I have a movement in a different way based on that experience and based on um, that, just experiencing that. And so every year, it's my goal to take other people back and to have that experience just because, again, it's a matter of I walk with a different purpose now. And I walk with a different purpose because I have a deeper understanding of what my ancestors went through. And so it's a level of me continuing this life and continuing this path to fulfill what they may not have been able to fulfill.
How different is it for you to go from reading and research and hearing stories versus going through an experience?
It's the difference between it's the difference between knowing it and understanding it and living it. Like I went from knowing it, like I know the history, I look, I was the president of the Black Student Union. I was, I had a pride about being a Black American. But now I have a deeper connection and oneness and just I have a deeper why.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You can't reflect on what you're going to do. You have to go in and do it in order to be able to truly reflect on things, right? Like this, and this is the arc that we've kind of gone through as we've been talking through it is this, hey, what's an experience like when we're at an event? What's an experience like when someone is working on planning and adjusting and trying to put together the event? And then what's the experience like when you experience something that's deep and personal to you? And how do you appreciate the fact that it is deep and personal to you and you can't really
Appreciate it.
yeah, you can appreciate it. And but the one that gets me hung up, and I've kind of gotten into two different words similar to you as you're talking through. This is kind of moving things back to some of the stuff that we were talking about a little bit before. It's value, principles, mindset. And there's a number of these words that are really important to me. Leadership, culture, revenue, execution, very important to me in general. Right, not even in general. They're very important. They're part of the things that the foundations for which the business is built on. The mindset. Do you mind if I share my definition?
Please. I would love that.
So this one is, and it's simple. A, B, C, D.
Okay.
A, B, C, D. Attitude, belief, clarity of definition.
Attitude.
So
I'm going to write this down if you don't mind.
there we go. Write it down. Use it. Share it. Like this. So if you can go through and you can say, if you agree with the definition of what mindset is, mindset is the attitude, your beliefs, and your clarity of definition, then you can start to look at your mindset around certain things. Like what's your mindset around value or what's your mindset around leadership? So on leadership, for me, attitude, belief, clarity of definition. Leaders build leaders. Leadership starts with self. Leadership is how we move forward. So the definition is leadership is how we move forward. My attitude is leaders build leaders. My belief is leadership starts with self. And when we take that personal ownership, we understand it, then we can start to help others move forward as we go through. And it's that little bit of clarity when you kind of work through it that can help with the communication piece and the assumptions and some of that other stuff that we were talking about before. We struggle with these things. And a lot of times we struggle with these things because somebody will say a word like value or say a word like leadership or say a word like anything else and expectations. And everybody has a little bit different definition of it. So then you get into that piece that you brought up earlier about the importance of, do we have the right stakeholders' perspective? Have we put it up on a board? Have we gotten it out there so that we can get aligned on it? Super powerful stuff.
And I love that because when you were saying it, I thought about, the beginning process of putting together a conference. And it is like, let's define what this conference is. Let's define what our mission is. Let's define what our goals are. And we're doing that based on everybody's input and knowing that. And so now we have clarity on what it is that we're doing and how we're moving forward. We're all believing in this mission. And I'm believing in this mission because I was a part of putting together the definition and the mission. And then, hey, I'm going to walk out of here with a brand new attitude and I'm going to want to do this because I was a part of it. So, yeah, I like that. I like it a lot.
So tell me about the sign that you've got up. Memories,
Nice.
for anybody who's not watching the video, memories of dreams realized.
Yes. And somebody else asked me about this the other day, and I'm trying to remember what my original quote was. And I, for the life of me, cannot remember what the original quote was because it's something that's really popular, but I know it had a negative bent on it. So it's like, dying with dreams. But it was like talking about after you die, you've lived the life that you wanted. And so so now I don't want to focus on the death portion of it. Like I don't want to have to wait till I die in order to sit back and be like, hey, like I've done the things. Like I'm living the life that I want to live. Like I'm having fond memories now of experiences that I am putting forth now. A lot of times is when I retire, when the kids get older, and it's this time that hasn't happened. And so it's like not focusing on the way down there, but it's like let's sit and reflect on what's happening right now. One of the things is I want to live a life of no regrets. Is and living a life of no regrets is sitting and being like, what is life for me? Like, and then sitting in those memories and saying, those are good times. What's next? So yeah, so it's dreaming now and sitting back and just reflecting on it.
DeShawn, this has been an awesome conversation. And I love the journey that we've been able to go through. So the thing that to me sounds super powerful about these retreats is you're talking about simple questions that we can all write down. They're very, very hard to stay focused on. So imagine a scenario where you're working together with a group of people and you have a guide who's kind of facilitating this discussion to help you work through those challenges and overcome those obstacles and not have to do this stuff
By yourself.
alone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So tell us about the retreats and how people can find out about what you're working on and where they can engage with you.
Yes, and you can find me on LinkedIn, DeShawn Wynn. My company is called Winning Touch Event Design. I am also on Instagram, winning_touch. The 2026 calendar will be coming out within the next month or two, but there are two retreats that are on the books now. One in March, which will be in Monterey, California, and of course the annual trip to Accra, Ghana, which will happen in October. So please definitely look for me on social media, and also hoping to give you a link to put in the video. And then also, what I really want to do is, because a lot of times we'll do this 3-day retreat,
Yeah.
and we'll walk away with all these great ideas, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to spend time every morning in meditation, and then we get home and life happens and life starts lifing, and then we die. So what I really want to do is I'm building a community. I'm building a community of people who you cannot be a part of the community until you have done a retreat. And the reason is because I want to know that people are serious about it and they're not just, saying the things, but they're actually really to commit to the work. Because it's work, when life starts happening, the easiest thing to set aside is ourselves. And so the purpose of this community is to keep each other to keep each other grounded, to keep each other motivated, and to keep each other just moving forward in the direction of you are valuable, your why is valuable, and let me help you maintain the mindset that keeps you going after your why.
If you are listening to this and you aren't watching the video, go to YouTube, watch the video. You will see DeShawn's energy come through the camera. You'll see it, and you'll feel it when you meet her in person. And I felt that when we met in person. We had a chance to have one of those side conversations in a hallway at an event and share an experience where there are, I don't know, 1,200 people, maybe, I don't know how many people are at NSA Influence, but you share these experiences. If you know somebody who would find this conversation valuable, please share it with them. Let DeShawn and I know that you've done so on LinkedIn. That's where we're both pretty active, and Instagram and Twitter and all of the other socials. Let us know wherever you're active. You can find your catalyst at findmycatalyst.com. Thanks.
And I thank you so much, Mike, for this time, for allowing me. Our initial conversation was amazing, and that same energy came back. And so I thank you for just allowing me to be on this show and to connect and vibe with you again. So
thank you. And I'm going to leave that in because we ended up hitting the outro of the message after that. And DeShawn, that was awesome. Thank you we need more people who can do this stuff. And I believe that they're all out there. One of the words, so anybody who's listened to the after the outro piece and is hearing the behind the scenes part of the discussion too, you're hearing this. What I've heard all the way through the arc of what DeShawn shared, in addition to things like value being an important word and mindset being an important word to her, it's intention. Operate with intention. And there is intention behind each of the questions that she mentioned earlier on. There's intention about coming together with a group of people. There's intention about creating experience. And with those intentions, we build better leaders. We build ourselves leadership capabilities, and we help the world move forward. So DeShawn, right back at you. Thank you.
Thank you.